We have a very special guest today, Alexander Liberato, here to talk to us about spirituality and down-to-earth healing practices in the queer community. Alex is a multimedia wizard, founder of Soul Nexus, one of the largest Reddit forums focused on spirituality. Alex, tell us about Soul Nexus.
Soul Nexus is a sub where spiritual individuals gather to discuss the nature of the universe and ourselves. As always, it is up to the individual to use discernment and only use that which they find here if it resonates with them. And like if we go and pull it up right now, we have people leaving a link to a workshop they want to do. Somebody talking about growth is slower at lower vibrations, and they wrote a few paragraphs about that. There's
Wow.
people will share maybe videos they themselves make or stuff like that. So it's a forum, and there's community, and the community comes and goes. Resource for the curious, and to build and manifest community in a way that is like anonymous and sovereign,
Oh,
right? Like
I
you
love that.
yeah,
Anonymous.
right, like you don't want like yeah, so you can just, and you don't need a user account, you just go visit it. And it's just for those listening who have no idea what Reddit is basically a website, and it's a collection of forums. So you can subscribe to what you want, you can ignore what you don't want. And Soulneck, it's one of the top 1% largest subreddits. It has 112,000 active subscribers. The subject matter is spirituality of sort of a light variety. So anything that's like negative oriented occultism, like that's just better served in another subreddit.
What's the mission statement or the goal of Soul Nexus?
To provide a place for connection and sharing of resources and insights. It really became popular because people would share, like, here's this great book that's a PDF, or here's this Neville Goddard and his describing of manifestation, and he wrote in the 1940s a lot. Here's like, it has everything from heady thought pieces that are basically novels that people will write that are just really mind-blowing and expanding, to a funny sort of light and bright spiritual meme. I articulate it as a digital roadside inn, and a roadside inn in sort of the old type of context, maybe almost medieval times, where you just have no two nights are alike, and you have travelers from all over, and they're around a big table with a mug of mead or whatever, and they're sharing insights or resources and stuff like that. A great little happy accident that exists, and we try to keep it high vibes, and it's just kind of an interesting buffet to go sample spiritual stuff in a way that is non-committal. And then also it gets back to my thing about democratizing spirituality. Spirituality does not need to be found, if it's found in a building with a pastor, neat. It does not need to be found in a building with a pastor. It can be found petting your cat on your back deck. It's anywhere and everywhere.
All right, you heard that straight from Alessandro Liberato, the founder, creator, and moderator of Soul Nexus, the largest Reddit subreddit
Subreddit.
of the internet, focusing on spirituality in an open, good way. So, Alex, your journey to spiritual wellness and healing is a unique one. What would you like to share with listeners today about that?
My spiritual arc, I thought, was unique to just me, and I was the only experiencer of it. But as I've put my feelers out, I've realized that others in the queer community, which encompasses everything under the rainbow, LGBTQIA plus, have a similar arc, and that involves maybe growing up in a really conservative religious household, in an organized religion, feeling marginalized and excluded and pushed out, and then upon leaving, shutting down any sort of spiritual connection, talk of spirituality, and then maybe a little bit later down the line, reacquainting oneself with spirituality. And that's been my arc, and it's been a roller coaster. Woo!
So, you talk about religion and you talk about spirituality and how it's been a journey for you of 5 years. What has happened during that time, or maybe even before that time, that you feel you'd like for listeners to know about?
So I grew up in the Mormon Church, otherwise known as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. To a lot of people, just depends on where you live and what you know it as. And I grew up in Southern California, We were very religious. We were converts to the religion. As you can tell from my Italian last name, we were a Catholic, and then we became Mormon. I grew up in the religion. I served a full-time mission in South America. The Mormon church sent me to Santiago, Chile, for 2 years, had a lot of adventures. Let me back up one sec. I went to Brigham Young University for freshman year. I went to my bishop and I'm like, I think I like dudes. I don't know what to do. And then he says, guess what? Why don't you go serve a mission? And then if you give yourself in service to Christ, he will take these homosexual inclinations away from you. Spoiler alert, that's not how stuff works. But I went, served really well for 2 years, kind of ran out of gas, came back for sophomore and junior year. And then at that time, I joined there's a unspoken queer underground community and was part of that. Things came to a head in April 2006 when a group named Soul Force came to Brigham Young University and scheduled what is known as a die-in. I know you know what a die-in is, but for those watching, a die-in was really big during the height of the AIDS crisis in the late 80s, early 90s.
That's right.
We did our own version, but instead of like bringing attention to deaths by HIV AIDS, we were bringing attention to queer Mormon suicides, which is the suicide rates among queer Latter-day Saints was astronomically high. We all have had acquaintances and friends at Brigham Young University who just were here one day and then not here on Monday because they took their own lives. There's a code of conduct you need to abide by. Homosexuality is explicitly written out in that you're not supposed to smoke, drink. For the longest time was no caffeine, no coffee, no tea. Going to church is tracked. So it wasn't like I went to a non-gay friendly university. I went to a university that actively monitored and surveilled its students. Here's an example. When I was part of the Queer Underground, we would maybe go to a gay event. We would all hop in a car and go maybe to a gay club in Salt Lake City. At the time, there was one club that would turn gay one night a week. I wouldn't drink or anything, but Brigham Young University had an honor code office. And sometimes, this was very random, they would go do a spot check of the parking lot of known queer hangouts, write down or snap photos of every license plate, and then like see if your car was registered with the school. And then if your car was caught parked at the gay club, they would pull you in and then give you a reprimand. This is real. Like this is kind of East Germany surveillance state. This wasn't just like, oh, I wasn't celebrated at school. It's like, no, you really have to be looking over your shoulder because this is not a queer friendly place. And one misstep and out. So I had a massive misstep, which was getting arrested at a die-in on campus. And even though I lived on campus, I was arrested by police and then cited with trespassing on my campus. So I'm like, I don't know where to go. Got a hotel room on mom and dad's credit card. Woo! Surprise, mom and dad. And then was able to come back to campus, kind of kicked out of school, put on academic probation. But that also created in me an aversion to spirituality. Spirituality was a trap. It was for stupid people, simple people, smart people who know it's a ruse, would avoid it. Let's just be really corporate. Let's go to happy hour every day. Let's just do our hair and shop is kind of, I went from being very religious and not feeling spiritual. I never really felt spiritual in Mormonism. I never like sat there and was like, oh, this feels so good. I never did. But then I'm kicked out of it. And so the entire time I'm like, well, I've never really felt spiritual. It must not be real or it must be a shared delusion. Only in adulthood or early 30s was I like, oh, and I just like really, the doors of that got blown open.
What advice would you like to share with the queer community about spirituality, wellness, and healing?
I think for a lot of queer identified people who maybe grew up in religious environments that weren't welcoming to their queer identity or had a place for their queer identity, queer people have likely put things into buckets. Like, I grew up here, spirituality is not queer friendly, connection with the cosmos and with Mother Gaia and inner and outer, not queer friendly. Such is becoming not the case. Something really curious I find is that I find queer people, this is a generality, queer people I find tend to pick up on where the collective consciousness is going, find that queer populations were friendly to cannabis before the demonization of cannabis subsided in recent years.
Which is
The-
legal in many states for treatment of cancer. A lot of research has been done on how it can really help with the endocannabinoid system, which is a part of regulating your nervous system and finding peace and calm and serenity in the everyday chaos of life. Let me just get this straight.
yeah,
You're
straight.
with a twist. How can we open up this discussion so that people who aren't queer or maybe contesting that right now, because there are many different ways to understand spirituality and giftedness and our unique abilities, how can we open up that conversation so we can understand what you are sharing and how you are validating the queer community without isolating others?
Oh, true. I would find that, when you've been on the periphery of society, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you're looking from the rafters with, looking down at the audience a little bit. So you're kind of in society, but on the side of society.
Yeah.
And that gives you a unique vantage point, I think, as a
Yeah.
demographic.
Mm-hmm.
But I also do think that there's an attunement that allows for freer flow of creativity. We find a lot of queer artists and
Mm-hmm.
queer people at the forefront and queer inventors. I think that sometimes a queer consciousness is able to look at something and look at it through a slightly different lens or through a unique way, find a unique solution to some seemingly intractable problem. I find it interesting that queer demographics show this in a lot of ways, but spirituality is not a no-go, but I'm understanding spirituality to be coming back in full force to the human population. I think humans have a lot of faculties and abilities that lie dormant. We're very sophisticated computers or machines or cell phones. We're cell phones, but we're in airplane mode, right? So we're just like,
Wow,
oh,
I
look,
never
I'm
thought of that.
but and then what happens when Wi-Fi comes back or Wi-Fi reactivates and you're like, whoa, I'm a communication device that can look up Wikipedia or make a reservation at that restaurant. I
I
think it
agree.
is.
That's so interesting that you compare spirituality with the internet and being tuned in or online. Mediums also understand our connection or our link with our loved ones in the spirit world in the same way. But there's something within this longing in our souls. There's a longing within our souls to reconnect. And if it's not with each other because we're stuck on the devices, then it's with something greater. And that's what I hear you sharing. Does that make
You hear,
sense to you?
yes, you hear correctly. Yeah. What's happening now, irrespective of queer or not, life template or not, I think a democratization of spirituality is coming to the fore. Spirituality is your thing, and whatever modality you resonate with, or template, or organization, or structure is yours.
I want to know, what are some of the things that you've explored once you've come out of the cloud or the fog of Mormonism?
I was already on Reddit contributing a lot to the ex-Mormon forum, and I was looking at this, looking at that. I will say that I had, probably due to a heavy amount of cannabis use at the time, an accidental Kundalini awakening. Do you understand what the Kundalini energy is? Kind of like it's at the base of your spine. It's kind of
So it's the second chakra for everyone who's listening, and it regulates our energy, which we use to engage in intimate relationships. It has to do with power, with sex, with pleasure, with money. It has to do with how we use our creative forces to manifest our lives so that we can accomplish our tasks, which we have come here to do. And so you had a Kundalini awakening.
an accidental Kundalini awakening. So I had no idea what the heck it was. On Reddit, I run into something about Kundalini awakenings and Kundalini energy, and I'm like, that's dumb. Literally 1 week later,
What does it feel like in your body? What happened?
like an uncoiling at the base of the spine. My experience is not for everyone, and I did it kind of incorrectly, but hey, it'll come as it comes.
And speaking to the queer community, wherever you are on that spectrum, and talking about his experience with intimacy at the second chakra level, he had an awakening. He had his Kundalini experience. He followed through with that in yoga. You might feel like you want to explore that. And you don't need to take a yoga class if you're not comfortable. You can just lay on the ground and place your hand on your second chakra. What are some very practical wellness tips that you can offer, Alex, to share with our kindred spirits spirits listening to the
Ooh, it's manifold. It's multiple. I love telling people what to do.
How
I'm a
about
sassy
three
queen.
things? How about three?
Three things. Okay. One is a focus and attention on breath work. I'm sure a lot of queer people, such as myself, are prone to maybe anxiety or depression. Breath work in whatever way that forms, deep in, hold, deep out, deep
Let's do it
in.
right now. Let's do it with
Great.
our listeners right now. And Alex is going
I'm
to
in.
lead it for us.
It's 4 beats, 4 beats, 4 beats, 4 beats. So it's like in 4 beats, hold 4 beats, out 4 beats, and then you hold out empty 4 beats, and then you repeat. We're going to start breath out. So empty out those lungs. Now let's go ahead and breathe in till 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Release slowly through mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold out empty. 1, 2, 3, 4. In. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out through mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold empty. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last go around, like things in 3. In through nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold empty. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Now, how do you feel?
Thank you, Alex.
Good. So going back to my three advices for queer identified people who want to reclaim their spirituality. Number 1, breath work. Breath work in whatever way, shape, or form. Breath work. Find a moment in your day. Number 2, a focus on your chakra system with a special attention to your bottom 3, your root, second chakra, third chakra. I'm gonna say it, queens. I'm gonna read you for filth. Just to be strong and to survive in this world that did not want us, we've done a lot of like defending, closing, walling off, bypassing of those chakras, like once bitten, twice shy. So giving attention, just trying to imagine all 7 of your chakras in your body system, and there's more above and some below, but we're just focusing on the actual meat sack. Your 7 chakras, seeing them as water fans or something, they should be kind of spinning and moving and open, ideally, and then your whole machine is optimally working. Give attention to your chakra system and see where blockages may occur. Also, and then an upper one is throat chakra. So that's advice number 2. And then advice I have 4. I have 4. I have too many things to say. Advice number 3, give focus to your spoken word, your affirmations, how you speak in your self-talk. Psychedelic mushroom thought leader named Terence McKenna, and he would often say that we live in a syntactical universe. Words create form. Words manifest form. Queer identified people, if we've grown up in households or religions or frameworks that weren't very welcoming to us, maybe we learn to speak in disempowering ways, giving positive affirmations and empowered affirmations, and just speaking that. You don't have to like speak it to an audience. Like, just be in your bathroom, speak it to your cat. I got Joan over here, and sometimes I'll just say something affirming to her, and she's like, whatever, feed me. And I'm like, great. Just that it be spoken from the throat chakra is powerful, and then it shifts you. It shifts you into that place that you want to be. And then it's that thing you want is not tantalizingly over there. It's over here. Your throat chakra is powerful, and I want you to use it. Advice number 4, acquaint yourself with substances that are from the ground that can maybe open you up, but in ways that are connect you. In terms of like,
You just speak your truth, honey. You just
this is
say
a
whatever.
we
Yep.
have a medical problem in the queer community of substance abuse.
I didn't
Hidden
know
how
that. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
It makes sense. Well,
Meth is a scourge in
oh,
the
is it
gay
meth?
community.
Uh-huh.
It's a fun party drug you try once. I have not tried meth myself.
Me
It is a
neither.
fun. It's and it sucks because people are like, there's nothing. The danger of meth. I had a survivor of this tell me the danger of meth is there's nothing better than meth.
So
And
you're advocating for plant-based medicine, whether it be mushrooms,
mhm,
cannabis, or the plethora of plant medicine that we have in our universe here on Earth.
exactly.
Right.
But with respect to the plant and with proper intention, we as a society are reacquainting ourselves with working this into our modalities for healing, integration, psychedelia, really connecting with nature. So I would say alchemize your relationship with substances to be, instead of that of escapism, to be that of reintegration and reconnection. And that might mean that your substances are different. So maybe instead of cocaine at the party, it's mushrooms in the forest with an intentional group. Yeah. I mean, I got to say it because in the queer community, there's a lot of, maybe you want to escape a foundational trauma, or maybe the party's fun and you want to eat, drink, and be merry, which I am all about, all the delicious consummations that the world has to offer. I don't want to. I think it's kind of funny that the Mormon who grew up with the word of wisdom is telling people like, do coke, but I think people will just truly transform. And it's tough because the queer community has been on the periphery for the longest time, and it's coming back into the fold of, all of humanity. Those are my 4 advices. Girl, if you let me go on, like this is gonna turn into
Well, we'll
I
definitely
have
have
so
you
much to
back.
say.
We'll definitely have you back in the tea room. Where can people find you, Alex, and learn more about what you do?
Oh, great. So if you want to ever connect with me in a professional capacity, my multimedia and design house is called Alcyone Reserve, and there's a link in the description below. If you'd like to come see one of the biggest spiritual subreddits we have, that's generalist in nature. So it's not one modality or another modality, it's a delicious buffet. It is named Soul Nexus, and that is available at reddit.com/r/soul nexus, all one word. A link is also in the description below. And then my show, we call it Cosmic Jesters, because only the jester could tell truths to the king. That is available on in video form on Rumble, the free speech video platform, as well as YouTube. And it is available as a podcast on Google Play, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Cosmic Jesters. Also, a link is below. No shortage of links. You're going to be sick of me if you aren't already.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you. I'm happy to come and spill tea anytime.
Would you like a reading?
Oh, okay. Like now?
Yeah, would it be okay to put it as a part of the interview or no?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I would totally do. Yeah, I don't care who comes through.
Okay. Gentle listener, Alex's reading is in the next episode, and we can't wait to share it with you. I'll see you there.